is Jenny Truong, and I do developer relations and operations at stately.ai. In this talk, we're going to learn about the diagrams that you need to know. If there's one thing that you will remember about me in this talk, it's not diagrams, but it's the fact that I absolutely love donuts. So let's dig into diagrams. You may know them as maps, workflows, schemas, infographics, blueprints, canvases, models, flowcharts, or even graphs. Diagrams are also known as all these different things listed, but in the end, they're just a visual representation that can help. The three different types of diagrams that we'll be learning about today are entity relationship diagrams, also known as ERDs, state machine diagrams, and sequence diagrams. ERDs are very useful in visualizing the structure of relational databases. They show how different entities relate to each other. But what's an entity? An entity represents a thing, like a donut or a user or even an order, but it can also represent a concept, like the order items. For example, let's picture ourselves inside a donut shop in the process of ordering a donut. The entity shows which kinds of donuts and how many kind of donuts belong to each other. In this example, each entity is in a box, and the attributes are on the left. Each donut has a price property. The type of each property is on the right, and the price is a number. There's also PK, which stands for the primary key, which is used to uniquely identify each entity. Then there's also FK, which is a foreign key, and that creates a link between the two different entities. Next up, we have state machine diagrams. State machines are very useful for visualizing the process or a flow, such as a multi-step form or a back-end flow. There's three main parts to a state machine. The finite state, think of like a status or a mode that you could be in, only one at a time. Then we have events, which describe things that happen. And then we have transitions, which is how something can change its state due to an event that occurs. In this donut recipe machine, we start at the initial state of gathering the ingredients to make a donut. Once the event of the ingredients are gathered, we can then transition into the mixing state. State machines are really easy to follow because you just follow the boxes and arrows, and it'll help you understand the process of what it's describing. In the event that the ingredients are mixed, we can transition out of the mixing state into the kneading state. You need to knead the dough or else it won't rise. And once the dough has risen, then you transition into shaping each donut. At the end of the process, there is a final state, which in this case is the ready-to-eat donut. Lastly, we have sequence diagrams. We talked about how a state machine describes how a single thing works, but within a sequence diagram, this can show you how different things can communicate with each other. Sequence diagrams are super useful for explaining different parts of how a system can work together to accomplish a goal. There are three main parts within a sequence diagram. There's the actors, which represent different roles within a system. There are lifelines, which are the lines that extend down from the actors, and it's basically like a visual aid. And then there's messages, which are sent between the actors. In this example, if I wanted to purchase a donut, I can explain the process with a sequence diagram. And there's three actors: the customer, the cashier, and the baker. First, the customer orders the donut from the cashier. This is conceptually a message sent between the customer and the cashier. The cashier then responds by asking for the money. Once the customer pays for the donut, then the cashier is able to hand the customer a receipt. And after that, the cashier sends the order to the baker, who then prepares the donuts. This is actually a message that the baker sends to themselves, because in this scenario, there's only one person working. When the baker is done, they then give the donut to the cashier, who then packages the donut. But again, in this solo job, it's the same person. And the cashier gives the donut box to the customer. There's so many tools that you can use to create diagrams. If you're interested in learning more about diagrams, I encourage you to read this book called Stuck, Diagrams Help. This book is written by Avi Covert. Diagrams in general are very useful in the case that they're shareable. And they're a great way to organize your thoughts down so you don't lose track. And a huge benefit to using diagrams is that it's documented and you can reference back Having a visual aid to better understand how you think or put your ideas down can be very powerful, and that's why diagrams are very important. Some of the visual tools that we use to collaborate at Stately are Stately.ai, which is powered by Xstate, a JavaScript library for state machines. And then we have FigJam and TLJaw, which are whiteboarding diagramming tools. There are so many tools that you can use to create diagrams, and a lot of the diagramming tools support entity relationship diagrams. I really like swimlanes.io for sequence diagrams and Stately for state machine diagrams. Thank you for coming to my lightning talk. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Blue.